Okay, so welcome to a new video. And yes, I'm continuing with my appreciation of the music from 1970. New genre today, I'm looking at blues or blues rock. And first of all, my last video, 32 minutes. I appreciate it's too long. So this one, I don't expect it to be as long as that. Because you get bored. I get bored. So let's dive straight in. The first one I want to look at is Stephen Stills, his debut album. He was in Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young at the time, but he decided he wanted to do this album. I put it in the blues category, and you'll probably realise why once I mention the names of one Jimi Hendrix, who played on track 4, Old Times, Good Times, quite an up-tempo rock song, and then Eric, who was a guitar player on Go Back Home. That was the last track on side 1, and that is bar guitar and Clapton with the scorching solo midway through. So that's why it's in the blues rock. Other notable numbers on this album, which I do like, the hippie acoustic rock love fest that was Love the One You With. It's very addictive, and you can sing along to it, and you can imagine yourself sitting in a field listening to it. Steve shows his acoustic guitar stills, and he also does that on a track on the other side, the second side, and this one I think is possibly the best on the album. It's called Black Queen, and it's got sharp stinging chords, very authentic horse-driven vocals from Steve, and he is alone on this one. The rest of the tracks, a bit forgettable, I guess. Church has some religious sort of connotations. It's a bit over the top. To a Flame, a gorgeous ballad, this one, with nice orchestration. Also had Ringo Starr on drums. And he's also on the closer, We Are Not Helpless. This has got a nice live feel to it. And the album also featured one Booker T. Jones. Soul and R&B circles are well familiar with his talents. So a strong debut, and I like it. It's called, it's the first solo album by Stephen Stills. Next album from this category is an album called On the Boards by Taste, and it's the second album. I've got a fuller video of this one on my channel, so very brief here. And also I do have a longer video on Steve Stills' album on my channel. But to Taste then, Rory Gallagher's band, a mixture of slow, fiery blues guitar tracks, Railway and Gun, Morning Sun, improvised jazz guitar instrumentals from It Happened Before, It'll Happen Again, terrific sax work on that track from Rory, and blues rockers, of course, What's Going On, Eat My Words, some great slide guitar on that one, and then he throws in some Irish folk songs with a rock sort of feel, If the Day Was Any Longer. I saw this band a couple of times, and they were explosive and very appealing. They obviously modelled themselves to an extent on Cream and possibly Hendrix as a trio, but they always delivered. And this set things up nicely for Rory before he went solo. They also were at the Isle of Wight Rock Festival in 1970, and there's a slide showing themselves on stage. So that's my second offering, On the Boards by Taste. Next up is Idlewild South. This is an album by the Allman Brothers band. And I have to confess, I never got to this album in 1970. It really only became noticeable to me much further down the line, a decade after its release. But it did precede the Live at the Fillmore East, which I did get hold of. And this was an album that they put together following a relentless touring schedule. and it was recorded gradually, really, over about a 5-month period in various cities, New York, Miami, and Macon, Georgia, the home of the band. And the album title comes from a band's nickname for a rustic cabin out in the middle of nowhere that the band rented out and used for rehearsals. And there is a photo of that on this video. And of course, the thing about the Allman Brothers was the fact that they had 2 drummers and 2 lead guitar players. And so rhythm and guitar picking and the solos was very much what the band were all about. Quick look at the tracks. Revival opens things up. It's got some gospel harmonies from Greg mixed with the solos. And Dwayne's exquisite slide on Don't Keep Me Wondering will get your ear close to that speaker. And then we get the 2 standouts as I see it. Midnight Rider, terrific acoustic riff, very simplistic but captivating on this country rock classic, and it later appeared on his solo album Laid Back. And then In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, an instrumental where the 2 lads and the drummers really get into syncs. Bet's guitar molds perfectly with Allman's to epitomise that Georgian smooth blues feel. The rhythm changes are gorgeous as well, as the 2 drummers interwoven perfectly. And a final nod to Please Call Home, melancholic slow blues. So that's Idle by a Sow, probably an album that's not that well received, not that well known rather, but that's my take on it, and it's in my blues genre for 1970. For this one I'm going to do a brief lyric, Greg Allman's lyric for Midnight Rider. Well, I've got to run to keep from hiding, and I'm bound to keep on riding, and I've got one more silver dollar, but I'm not going to let you catch me. No, you're not going to let them catch the Midnight Rider. And I don't own the clothes I'm wearing, and the road goes on forever, and I've got one more silver dollar, but I'm not going to let them catch me. No, I'm not going to let them catch the Midnight Rider. Okay, you get the drift. It's pretty polished sort of stuff. And that was a brief lyric. You can read it all on the slide, which is attached to this section of the video. Next up is the album by the Groundhogs, Thank Christ for the Bomb. It's their 3rd album. And again, there's a full review of this on the channel if you want to listen to more. It was a retreat, really, from their traditional blues on their first couple of albums to a much more sophisticated rock blues amalgam. The songs were shorter, a bit of politics was thrown in McPhee's anti-war stance, but the band are very much about Tony S. McPhee, a very accomplished guitar player indeed. I saw them many times and they were really hard and really rocky, and some exquisite blues playing as well. Although some of the tracks on here aren't quite as heavy. Garden is one, it's a semi-acoustic. Soldier, which I like, it's got some sparkling tasteful guitar work. And then of course the hard-driven Eccentric Man, which closed most of their shows at the time. And of course we must remember the title track with sound effects with regard to that nuclear device. So anyway, a very, very polished album, Thank Christ for the Bomb by the Groundhogs. In keeping with keeping this video a bit shorter, this is my final review, brief one, and it's by a band called Chicken Shack, a British band, and the album's called Accept. Now, Chicken Shack was really the baby of one Stan Webb, who played guitar, sang and wrote most of the material. Chicken Shack, though, this was their 4th album, and on earlier albums they actually had one Christine Perfect, later become Christine McVie, on keyboards and singing vocals. But she had left before this album came out to pursue a solo career. It's a bit of a departure really from the pure blues of the early offerings to a much more progressive and psychedelic sound, although you can't mistake the blues origins. Webb, that is, has certain similarities with that other giant of blues guitar work, Peter Green, with the 12-bar blues numbers. Sad Clown's a beautiful instrumental ballad with nice use of echo. Maudie is a great rock and roll blues song that gets you up and moving your hips. And then Telling Your Fortune sees Webb overindulging on his solo, it has to be said, a la Jimmy Page and Ritchie Blackmore. And finally, Some Other Time, probably the highlight, a more grandiose number with some trumpets thrown in and a very psychedelic feel. I enjoyed revisiting this album a couple of weeks back, and Andalusian Blues is another that suggests a Spanish guitar feel to it. So try and get to hear it. It's called Accepted, and it's by the band Chicken Shack.